A warm welcome to those who are following us on the internet. Good morning, Mr. Alves. It's good to see you there. John.
Good morning, everyone. Today's reading is chapter 65, To Ask. They're from the Way, the Truth, and the Life. Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Most believers go to houses of prayer to ask for something. Few go there as genuine children of God who are interested in His sublime will with regard to growing in knowledge, renewing their inner qualities, and making spiritual use of opportunities received on high. Actually, people should see places of worship as being sacred spot of the Almighty where they should learn fraternity, love, and cooperation according to His divine plan. However, most stubbornly insist on imposing themselves on God's paternal kindness in an attempt to bribe His infinite power. They are inveterate beggars who, due to their extreme rebelliousness in their relationship with the Father, must often forsake the moral course laid out for their lives. They complain so much that they are finally granted what they want. Then disaster strikes, suffering results. Next comes weariness, which is always the child of the incomprehension of our duties. We ask for certain benefits along the way, and like the prodigal son, we rush to ask the Father for our inheritance ahead of time. However, disenchantment results from the poison of imprudence and irresponsibility. Weariness is always the bitter fruit for those in a hurry to receive legacies that are unsuitable for them. Therefore, let us be careful about what we ask for, because above all, we should ask to understand Jesus' will for us. When I first read this passage, I thought that some of the language was a little severe. For example, they are inveterate beggars. Disenchantment results from the poison of imprudence and irresponsibility. I hope that in the translation, the original of this, it was a little more mellow. However, the message is really, I resonated with the message. Learning, knowledge with the understanding about God, Jesus, and our life's journey are necessary to help us find peace, harmony, and enlightenment. And then I thought of our center. I've been here for a few years now, and the courses and experiences we have here teach us a lot. We are so fortunate to have the learned, compassionate, loving brothers and sisters who give so much out of their time to help us understand ourselves, our lives, and our relationship to God and Jesus. Susanna, Andrea, Marcelo, who helped me personally to read out loud. Well, when we go to the courses, we read out loud, and I'm a little more comfortable. Have I ever composed an opening prayer? No. Now I did, and I have given a few lectures. But most importantly, I've learned to be kinder in my relationship with people, because I understand how we all are intertwined and connected with God. And this was all done from our center in such a loving, friendly manner that it was absolutely painless and very, very helpful. I thank everyone at the center for this. I'd like to have an opening prayer, if there's any comments. Mother, Father God, Creator of the universe and all that is, Jesus, our teacher, our Savior, our friend, Thank you so much for our blessings, so many, and thank you for the many lessons that you give us. Help us open our hearts, open our minds, so we may be conduits of your love and light. May our incarnate and discarnate brothers and sisters find peace and harmony by spreading love and forgiveness in all our worlds through compassion and charity. Thank you so much for this center, so it may become a beacon of peace and harmony. And please always remind us, not just us, but the world, that love is the way home. Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, John. How wonderful. As we had mentioned earlier, well, good morning to those that just walked in. Really great to have everyone here this morning. Alex Alves is a wonderful contributor within the Spiritist movement in Florida, and actually nationally as well. He's joining us with his lovely wife, Eliane, from Orlando today, and he's going to be bringing a study about what is Spiritism. As always, we open at the end for about 10 to 15 minutes of questions and answers if time allows. So if you have any questions along the way, make sure you jot it down and ask Alex once he is done with his talk. Alex, thank you for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Andrea and Susanna and Marcelo and the Conscious Living Spiritist group for allowing me to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to come down over here, see such friendly and nice faces smiling at us. It gives us a lot of hope that what we are doing somehow is helping someone, especially myself in the first place. When I first get ready for a talk, the most beneficial one is myself, because I have the opportunity to read, study, review concepts that even that we know, we forgot. We tend to forget some of these concepts in our minds, in our hearts. And so it's very nice that we have the opportunity to re-see them, to re-study, and refresh our minds and our hearts as well. So thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think that's what I just said. It has everything to do with this topic today, the study of Spiritism. Is this for me? Because when we come and we prepare a talk, we have the opportunity to study, to understand, go a little bit deeper on the concepts and everything that we want to understand and share with other people as well. And once we study, once we get this concept, internalize it in our minds, in our hearts, we are truly understanding what is this Spiritism thing all about, the impact that it has in our lives and somebody else's lives, as well as we start to share this knowledge with the talks, with the conversation, but most importantly, with our own behavior and with our own examples. These are the most powerful messages that we can send out for people out there when we are talking about the Spiritism. Our examples and what we are doing with these teachings and these studies inside ourselves as well. But anyways, Spiritism and all of these kind of things is not for everyone. Maybe someone doesn't feel familiar with that or don't like it very much. It's not clear if this Spiritism thing can help, and if it can help me, how can it help, how do we do, etc. So that's what we're going to be talking today. How this Spiritism study can help us, it can impact our life. But before we start to study something, we got to at least have an idea, what are we going to study? What is Spiritism? What is this Spiritism has to do with us? On this book over here, What is Spiritism? We say that Spiritism is simultaneously a science of observation and a philosophical doctrine. As a practical science, it consists in the relations that can be established with the spirits. As a philosophy, it entails all the moral consequences that result from such relations. So it's a science that has a deep impact on our philosophical concepts. And these philosophical concepts has a deep impact in our life and how we relate it to those facts. So, Spiritism can be defined as a science that deals with the nature, origin, and destiny of the spirits and their relation with the corporeal world. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and that's what we're going to be studying. That's pretty much what is Spiritism. But also, when we go to teachings, and especially on Jesus' teachings, it's very important that we try to understand all the truth. And as we can find in John chapter 8, verses 31, 32, Jesus has said to us, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples. Then you know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But what kind of truth is he talking about over here? It's the truth about my teachings, my commandments, Jesus' teachings, Jesus' commandments. Do we really understand all of the teachings that he brought to us? Do we really incorporate those teachings in our lives? Do we really know exactly what is he's expecting to us? So if we know the truth of his commandments, then we will understand how he's expecting, Jesus is expecting us to live our lives under his commandments, under his teachings. So when we understand all of these truths, we're going to be set free because we're going to be not attached anymore from our mistakes and our sins from the past. We are not going to be attached to the problems that we created to ourselves because we did not understand very clear what he mentioned to us. When he said it to us, leave one another as I had loved you, he mentioned, leave one another, everybody. Not just your friends, not just the ones which are close to you. He commanded me to love each other, everyone, not just the ones that we like it. But we do not understand this very clear. So we're going to be going a little bit deeper on these concepts and see what else we can take out of these. Also, Spiritism answers many fundamental questions. The questions that we have been asked for ourselves forever. Who am I? Where did I come from? What am I heading to? What am I doing over here? Why I'm so rich and I have my next door neighborhood so poor? Why I have all this healthy and my cousin or my nieces or someone in my family struggles so much with their own health? Why I live in a country so blessed and we have so many other countries out there which struggles to sustain their own population, to produce their own food? Why we have so many differences in the world? If God is justice, is love, as we study, as we understand, as we try to be learning, how can we explain all of these differences? And Spiritism comes to answer all of these questions. But to understand and to answer and get all the answers that we're looking for, we got to go deeper on these teachings and try to understand what is coming out there. So what are the questions that Spiritism answers? Who am I? I'm an immortal spirit. Where did I come from? I came from my previous experiences, on my ascendance in learning, on all the experiences that I have to learn so I can go back to my Father. Where am I heading? What am I heading to when I leave this earth? I'm going back to my real life, which is the spiritual life. Where am I going to be keeping, studying, understanding, and evolving myself so I can understand all of the mysteries of the universe? Why we have so many differences in the world? Because that's part of our learning experience. If we want to learn how we should be treating other people in that situation, we should be going through those experiences as well, so we know exactly how we should be treating, how we would like to be treated if we were on that position. Or because we made some wrong choices to ourselves in the past, and now we are just collecting the consequences on what we have done. So Spiritism helps us to understand and to answer all of these fundamental questions. Those questions have been asked in humankind, I would say, for the last 1,000 years. And Spiritism is helping to answer all of these questions and all of these things. Also, on the posthumous work by Allan Kardec, which is not translated into English yet, is in the process for that, there is a study from Allan Kardec that's called Project 1868. On this Project 1868, Allan Kardec says, the only spirit is not a spiritualism, is a spiritism. You know these automatically translated correctors that you use when you want to write something and they keep it coming back for that word. Is not a spiritualism. That's a translation error over there. Only spiritism, well perceived and well understood, can become, as said by the spirits, the great lever of transformation of humanity. So if we understand, if we perceive Spiritism and we understand the Spiritism very clearly, that's the greatest tool that we're going to have to help on the humankind's transformation, on the transformation of our planet. But how is that? How is that going to be happening? Because Spiritism shows the need for individual improvement. Through it, know the man where he came from, where it goes, and why you are on earth. Improving morally, men will prepare on earth the reign of peace and brotherhood. Because when we understand these concepts, and we understand why you're here, we're going to be learning with our own mistakes what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. And as we evolve and as we progress, we're going to be treating our families, friends, and everybody around us on a much better way, because we're going to be understanding the consequences of our own choices and our own attitude. And once we understand better, we make better choices. When we make better choices, we're going to have better consequences. When we have better consequences on everything that we do, we're going to have a much better environment to be living in it. And when we have a better environment, everybody we're going to be taking advantage of this. So imagine that we just don't have just a couple of guys or a couple of persons thinking like that. Imagine that now we have thousands of people thinking like this and acting like that. So we're going to be impacting lives out there by the thousands. And we're going to be helping the entire humankind to change and see life in the future under a different perspective. We are waiting for transformations. We are waiting for a big miracle that will come as we expect, from the outside to the inside. But the biggest transformation will not come from the outside. It will come from the inside. Once we change from the inside and we start to give it away for other people, then we're going to be helping to the outside transformation of other people as well. We cannot just wait that the other changes so we can change. If we want some changes, we got to change first. We got to reevaluate our values, our attitudes, our behavior, what we think, what we expect from other people, and we should be the ones changing first, moving forward first, if we want to see transformation in everybody else's. And Spiritism helps us to understand all of this, because we have a beginning, which wasn't just with our conception over here on earth, on our physical body. We had lived in many, many lives before, and we're still going to have many, many lives ahead of us to complete our entire course of understanding of the moral laws and the Jesus teachings that He left it to us. But to that, we need to go deeper. To go deeper, we got to study. And how do we do that? On the Spiritism and the future of humankind, if Spiritism is going to impact humankind that much, what we should be expecting on this? Dr. Alírio Cerqueira Filho, on this book, which hasn't translated into English yet, the Centro Espírita e a Promoção do Espírito Imortal, which could be translated by the Spiritist Center and the Promotion of the Immortal Spirit, something like that. On the chapter 2, he brings in a few concepts, which says, humanity, when under the influence of these ideals, the Spiritist ideals, will enter a new moral way. Today, this influence is individual. Later, will act on the masses. As we can see, maybe not over here in the US, but the Spiritism movement in the entire world is been growing and growing a lot. And not just because of Spiritism, and we are not trying to bring over here, transform it over here, or convince or convert the people into the Spiritism. Spiritism is not just like a traditional religion as we are used to see the traditional religions over there. Spiritism is much more broad than just this. It impacts our life on a totally different way, in a totally different concept. Do we still believe in Jesus? Oh yes. Do we still follow his teachings? Oh yes. That's the base of our behavior. But it impacts our life on a much bigger way than we just can see on the religious aspects. Once we start to see this transformation, we're going to be impacting somebody else's lives out there. In Spiritism in Brazil, for example, on the last information that we had, they had about 15,000 Spiritist centers in Brazil. Just in the city that my dad is from, Ribeirão Preto, has more Spiritist centers than the United States. But that's how much it is impacted. It impacted on a country like this, as big as Brazil, with over 200 million people out there. 35% of the population somehow believes that they are spiritists. Over 30% of the population believes in reincarnation. That's because it's bringing some transformation for those people out there. And somehow in the future, the entire world will be impacted by this truth as well. So now we are just a few. But the influence on these, we'll start to see raising up and up and more and more. It's going to be, this transformation will come. Actually, we can see that by the kids which are surrounding us. I have no problems in to say and to admit that my grandchildren are much smarter than I am, spiritually speaking. They have feelings. They have perceptions that I don't have it. And it's clear to all of us. We look into our children, we'll see how much smarter, spiritually speaking, they are than we are. So the new generation is already coming. The new generation is already prepared to deal with the future. But anyways, hence the importance of promoting the immortal spirit in knowing, feeling, and experiences, so that everyone can work for their own moral transformation. That's the importance in promoting, in knowing, feeling, and experiences. And how do we do that? When he speaks of Spiritism, well understood, and experiences, Kardec talks about the Christian precept, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. How do we do that? That's a great question. Science is already contributing for this truth. Actually, we can see Dr. Brian Weiss, which is very well known by most of us over here, especially because he's from South Beach and he's from Miami. Dr. Brian Weiss is the one that started with these aspects on the past life regressions, which shows the pre-existence of the spirit before the birth. It treats and solves phobias and fears originated from the past. Dr. Ian Stevenson as well, which is passed away about 5 years ago. He used to be the head of the Department of University of Virginia, where he was researching reincarnation experiences and reincarnation studies since the early 60s. So this study has over 50 years. Science is dealing with that with many more years than we can even imagine. And the first results are coming through these. Dr. Ian Stevenson has a book that says 20 cases that suggest reincarnation. James Laniger, do you guys remember and see on TV the young boy, the little boy that used to dream that he was a pilot and that had been shut down by the Japanese and everything? There is a book about this young boy. There is, if you go to internet, YouTube has at least 10 or 12 different pieces about this boy. And when he was 3 years old, he started to dream about it, that he was a pilot and the Japanese had shut it down. Well, to make a long story short, that was true. He found out that he was shot in an aerial battle in the Southern Pacific in 1943, if I'm not mistaken. And he was able to pinpoint the friends from his own aircraft career. He was able to name his brothers, his sisters. It's unbelievable. And by the way, he was able to say, my plane that was shot is here. He pointed the spot where the plane was. They sent some divers down there, and guess what? There was a plane at the bottom of the ocean. How come? Where did it come from? He just didn't make it out, but that's history. So history, science is bringing us a lot of information about these new concepts, new things, new information, new realities, new truth are coming our way. What are we dealing with that? How we are dealing with that information? Also, the near-death experiences, which for me personally, it's one of the greatest proofs that we can have about the immortality of the soul or the immortality of the spirits, which is very well related and narrated by these two movies, Heaven is for Real and Miracles for Heaven. Both of them, the kids have near-death experiences. They get in touch with their relatives, grandfathers, and these kind of things, and they experience the same impact on their lives. But the most important, the near-death experiences are experiences that millions of people went through, from all religions, from all different demographics, whites, blacks, Indians, Asians, you name it, all around the world, in different ages, from different religions, from different perspectives, from different backgrounds, and all of them came back saying exactly the same thing. That's what Allan Kardec called it, the universality of the teachings. The same teaching, the same message come from different sources, all over the places, from different people that doesn't know each other, all of them saying exactly the same thing. How come can you get all of these people together and you're going to say, when you're going to have a near-death experiences, and when you come back you're going to say this and this and that, and don't forget about the line, don't forget about the tunnel. Oh, the tunnel is very important, don't ever forget to mention about these, and don't forget about the light and the people that you say. Everybody says exactly the same thing. So for me personally, it's the biggest proof of the immortality of the soul. The soul survives to our body. So science is contributing with this new truth. Science is bringing that information. What about us? What we are doing ourselves? Are we contributing to understand of this new truth, this new concept? You know the truth, and it will set you free. To know the truth is necessary to study it, to understand the foundation on which it's based. Jesus makes it clear that it's not the knowledge that liberates, but the truth. Study and live it in our daily lives, making us better and freed from the vicious behaviors. Go deep on his message. No, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And no one goes to the Father but through me. So if you want to understand the truth, if we want to know the truth as he's asking us, we gotta go through his teachings. We gotta to understand exactly what he meant in each one of his parables, in each one of his teachings, in each one of his examples, and everything that he has said to us. It's not that much complicated. It's just 3 years. See, if you take somebody else's life and try to read, understand, and study somebody else's life in 3 years, I think it's pretty much doable, right? Yeah. Maybe in 10 or 12 incarnations, we might be able to do that when we were talking about Jesus, but it's not that much complicated. Just let's take those 3 years of his life and try to understand and try to go as deeper as we can on those teachings. But we have to dedicate some time to do that. This is how Spiritism will impact into the transformation of humanity, helping us to be better and put into practice this improvement. That's maybe is the most difficult part. Because one thing is to read, to understand the concepts, to understand the consequences, to understand the impact on our lives. Then go for the practice. Wow, that's a totally different ballgame. That might be a little bit complicated because we're going to have to be out of our comfort zone. And taking somebody else's out of its comfort zone, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But what is in there for me? If I accept that challenge, if I accept the I would say the obligation, let's put it this way, to do something different from the way that I've been doing in the past lives, what is in there for me? What are going to be my rewards? The reward will come on a manner of an easier life. Not free of struggles, not free of problems, but easier. We will understand easier and much better why we go through struggles, why we go through problems. We're going to be dealing with the difficulties of our lives much better, in a much calmer and easier way. Are we going to still have the problems? Yes, of course. The problems are part of our lives. These are the tryouts that God sends to us to see if we are ready for the next lessons. So if we understand that and we apply that in our lives, it's going to be much better for us to be understanding what is going on. Also, if Spiritism is a science, does it study God, Jesus, and this kind of stuff? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, deeply. We go very, very deeply into that. And why is that? Because Jesus is the most perfect example that God has offered to man as his guide and model. That's the answer of the question 625 of the Spiritist book. So if we want to follow someone, that can guide us through a better life, Jesus is the person that we should be following. Jesus is the person, and his behavior, his teachings, and his words are the ones that we should be studying to understand everything that we should be doing. Do we understand that do Spiritism explains about God? Yes, part of it. Because we are not just evolved enough or grown up enough to understand the whole concept of God. Who is God? God is the primary cause of everything, the creator. Okay, but if God created everything, who created God? Well, I don't know yet. And I don't think that I'm going to be ready to answer that question for the next, I would say, billion years. We'll get there. We will understand that. But maybe not in the next billion years. Maybe we should to understand a few other things before we get there. But it's going to be possible. We will be able to understand this concept somehow, someday. Again, the Spirit of Truth, which is, according to Allan Kardec, is Jesus and his commandments. The Spirit of Truth says, Spiritism is the consoler promised by Jesus. If you love me, as we can find that passage in the chapter on John, chapter 14, if you love me, keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will send you another comforter that will remain with you forever, the Spirit of Truth. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. And isn't in Spiritism exactly this? Isn't Spiritism bringing back to our minds, to our memories, to our lives, Jesus' teachings? Remembering everything that he had taught, everything that he had said, and bringing us new information. Isn't Spiritism exactly this? So we can say the Spiritism is the promised consoler promised by Jesus on this passage during the Last Supper. Also, he had given us this commandment. Spiritism, love one another. That's the first precept. Educate yourselves is the second. And why is that? Within Christianity, not the church, not the Catholicism, within Christianity, which is a totally different thing, different from Catholicism. Catholicism is the church, is the institution. Christianity are all the teachings based on Jesus' lives and the moral law, which are two things totally different. Within Christianity, we'll find all the truth. The errors in which man has become rooted are all of the human origin. So if we know the truth will set us free, because we're not going to be following man anymore. We're going to be following Jesus. One thing is when we follow a man and not a philosophy. We can follow a man that has a philosophy, but that man, he's subjected to error, just as we are. There's nobody perfect on this world. We might understand the philosophy, but we might start to conduct people for a different way, on a different pathway, on a wrong one. So we should not ever be following people. We should be following the commandments. That's where all the mistakes come from. The purity of the Christians, of the Christianity, of the Jesus teachings. It's untouchable. Up to today, there is nothing to be said against those teachings. Everything that he preached to us, everything that he brought to us, all the teachings, all the examples, everything that he has done, it's perfect. There is nothing to be changed, nothing to be adapted. We have to adapt ourselves to his teachings and not have his teachings adapted to what we think. But as we have a pretty busy life, as we have so much other things to be thinking about, sometimes we think it's easier to follow the man which is leading us towards that pathway than stop to ourselves and start to think by ourselves, what this guy is saying, is this correct? Is this the way that I understand? And that's why Spiritism is open to analysis. It's open to questioning. And even Alongar that has said, if science brings something which is against what we're bringing to you guys today, stick to the science. If a new teaching comes and shows me that I'm wrong, follow what is right. There is no a true commandment that you should be following exactly what I'm saying. Follow the philosophy, not the man. But to follow a philosophy, we have to study. We have to dedicate ourselves to understand exactly what we understand, what we are looking for, what's the message out there, what is this Spiritism all about. But if I had made a decision that I want to be a better person, that I want to contribute somehow for myself and for my fellow co-spirits or my fellow friends which are living on this earth at this moment exactly like me, if I decided to make a new life for myself, I have to start and I have to dedicate some time to myself to understand all of this that I'm living for. What is the concept that I'm trying to live for? What are the teachings? What is this expecting from me? And when I decided to do this in a different way, in a different manner, where should I go? Where do I study Spiritism? Where can I learn all of these wonderful things that we have to learn? Well, one of the very first places that we should go is the Spiritist Center. And you guys are very, very lucky ones. Because you make the right decision, the right choices. With a sunny, bright day outside, a very nice Sunday, the beach is screaming to us, let's go to the beach, let's enjoy the sea and the waves and everything else. And you guys are over here, listening for this shorty, fat guy with this strong accent and all of these things that he has to say. But you have made a decision to try to do something for yourselves. Learn something different. Introduce new concepts for your life that you can be applying on your life tomorrow. That you can be helping someone as soon as you leave this room, as soon as you leave this meeting. So the Spiritist Center is the very first place that we should be going through. Because the Spiritist Center, they offer the public meetings, which is this what we're doing right now. And they have also the study groups where they can help you to read, study, and understand the basic books from the Spiritism doctrine and all the other books which complement the teachings that we have to live by. Besides the Spiritist centers, we also have these websites with tons of information for us. One of the very best that I know in English is explorespiritism.com. It's one of the most complete websites that we can find in English talking about the Spiritism doctrine. Very trustable one. The sources, the information, the layout. It's a great place if you wanted to listen or if you wanted to study something. Also, you can go to YouTube. All of those great talks from Divaldo Franco, from Haroldo Dutra Dias, and a lot of other people, and a lot of other speakers that we know, they are out there available. Also, there is quite a few Spiritist centers in the U.S. today, which is they are broadcasting their public talks in English live. As this one, for example, is being broadcast live. There's other Spiritist centers out there which are doing the same. And also, once they have this recorded, they upload this for YouTube. So we're going to be having talks and other people in English being available to understand. So the word is going to be is being already spread out. The information is out there. Oh no, but I can't reach YouTube. Come on, guys. YouTube is in the phone today. Get 95 is stuck at the end of the day. You put the YouTube in your phone. You can listen 40 minutes of a talk on your phone while you are stuck in traffic. Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. There's no excuses anymore saying, "Oh, I don't have access to the information. I don't know where to look at." It's coming to us. It's coming to us. Also, these live conferences and seminar, which we had in March in Orlando, the Florida Spiritist Conference, as we're going to have next year again, the United States Spiritist Symposium. We have these live conferences where it's another opportunity to understand, to study, to learn, to go deeper on these messages, which is out there for us. And also, how to study. I found the places where I should be going, but how should I be doing this? What is the practice? How do I put this in practice? Actually, it's pretty easy. Read or listen. If you are on a study group, you have to read. If you are listening to a talk or to a YouTube, you read or you listen. You practice, you repeat. Read, listen, practice, repeat. Read and listen, practice and repeat. And read and listen and practice and repeat. And go for it. And go. That's how these athletes, which are in Rio right now, on the Olympic Games, that's what they do every day. Every single day. They practice to be the best. They practice to reach the highest of their potential. They practice to perform on the best, on the highest level as possible. So on our run, on our walkway towards back to God, how do we want to have this run? On a nice and smoothly way? Or with problems, struggles, stones, and all these problems that we find? If you want to have a smoother walk or run, we should be training to do our best, to perform on the highest of our potential. Because if we don't do that, go back to the lesson if you don't get it, or life will bring you a lesson. And I prefer to take the lessons in the classes than the lessons that life has to bring to me. Usually, life's lessons are not so sweet as the ones that we can get over here. It's a little bit more complicated, the lessons that life brings to us out there. So if you repeat, we're going to avoid that life brings the lesson that we might need on that. Oh, but I wish I was younger, but I'm already too old. Oh, I'm already 85 years old. I don't know how long more I'm going to be living over here. I can die tomorrow. And we're talking about what age? Your physical age or your spiritual age? Because knowledge is the only value that you take with you into the spiritual life. You're not going to take your 65 inches plasma TV. It doesn't fit on the coffin. And not even in the oven, if someone wants to be cremated, it doesn't fit over there as well. I already measured, so I know what I'm talking about.
There's no signal.
No, there's no signal. Yes, there is no signal. Yeah, DirecTV doesn't connect. Yeah, there's no cable. There's no way that we can take these things out of us. Only knowledge, only who we are, that's where we take back into our spiritual life. Nothing else. So knowledge is the only value that we're going to bring it back to our spiritual life. Whatever you learn today, you apply tomorrow, or even tonight. If you are learning over here about the patience and tolerance, and you have a fight with your significant other tonight, you might be applying what you learned today tonight, or not, depending on the situation. But anyways, that's up to every one of you, each one of you. But whatever we learn today, we can apply tonight. Maybe next life, you don't get all and the same opportunities as on this one. On this life, right now, we have access to information, to spiritist centers, to books, to internet, to water and light. Maybe next life, we are going to born in Africa, where we don't have spiritist centers, we don't have books, we don't have water, and we don't have light. And we don't have internet. And we don't have access to all of this. Maybe next life, we learn in a country which is still under the tyranny of other people, and religion is not free. So let's take advantage and opportunity on the chances and the tools that we have available for us right now. Maybe next life, we may not get those same resources. So it's important that we do this as we speak. So, if we're looking for some answers, new ways to look into the important things, new perspectives into your life, then yes, the study of Spiritism is for me. It's for you. It's for everyone. But if you are happy with the life that you have right now, you are happy the way that you are struggling with your own problems, your own difficulties and everything, that's fine. That's your own choices. But if you are looking for something better, if you are looking to be better, if you are looking to contribute to for the future of humankind, if you want to speed up your process to understand the teachings of Jesus so we can go back to God on a faster way, then yes, the study of Spiritism is for each one of us. And if you are looking for a place to be studying and developing those teachings, welcome. That's the place to be. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate your patience with me today. And if anyone has any questions or any comments, please, that's the time to do so. Yes, sir.
Thank you. In your life, what are one main truth that you've taken from Spiritism that particularly is appropriate for your life?
Oh, sir.
The question?
I didn't hear. Yeah, people are watching.
He asked it, in my perspective on my life, what would be the most appropriate or the most important lesson that I got from the Spiritism that impacted my life the most? The truth. Well, we would have to do a seminar for that, which we don't have the time. Because everything that I had learned from the Spiritism impacted my life in some way and somehow. When you understand the concept of reincarnation, for example, you understand the struggles that we're going right now as a consequence, not a punishment. God is love. God loves us. Not as a punishment, but as a consequence on what we have done in the past or what we have chosen in the past. Something we have to be dealing with this situation now so we can understand and we can go through the same experiences so we don't repeat that again. It's a learning experience, it's a learning curve. So when you understand the concept of more easier and with perspective, with all of our heart. So we start understand the privileges hidden on those parables. That every time that we read, we learn a different way and a different perspective in how to behave and how to be treating people. When we understand the plan of Jesus for this earth, that we're going to become a planet of regeneration, and we're going to be leaving behind all of these struggles that we are seeing, we understand that we have a role on this earth to contribute for this future. If I want this future for myself when I come back, I have to work and contribute for this future as of now, not leave it for my grandkids to do it. So because if I don't do now, I will not earn the right to come back. So these are just a few, but there's a lot of other teachings and things that we can do that.
So some people, they enter into Spiritism by reading books like romances, and this talk is about studying Spiritism. So what would be your recommendation for someone who has a curiosity but doesn't know how to find a Spirit center, or what's the best way? Reading, studying, experiencing the phenomena, or
when we want to understand something, we always have to start by the beginnings, by the basics, by the fundamentals. Where are the fundamentals of Spiritism? Are in those 5 books, what we call the 5 basic books of the Spiritism doctrine: the Spiritist book, the Medium's book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, the Genesis. Then you have the Postmodern works by Allan Kardec. You have the What is Spiritism? A lot of people say or think that this book, What is Spiritism? Yeah, it's not from Allan Kardec. Actually, it was written by Allan Kardec. It's one of his first books explaining what Spiritism was all about. So start by the basics, start by the beginning, so we can build the foundation of your knowledge. The very first book that we should be in touch should be the Spiritist book. But if you think it is too much complicated, maybe What is Spiritism, or is Spiritism easily explained, can bring the main concepts of Spiritism into our lives, and we can understand this better. And then you go build your foundation over the other books as well. But always start by the beginning. When we go to school, we don't take classes Algebra 3 in the kindergarten. Right? We take this 1 + 1 is equal to 2 + 2 is equal to 4, and that's how we learn. We build our foundation, then go up. That's what I would recommend. Again, as I was saying a little earlier, the information, it's in our hands today. On the tablets, on the phones, on the computer, Google, YouTube, you got pretty much everything. Yes. Yeah.
And do you have, continuing his question, do you have any recommendation for children, especially this new generation that's coming much better prepared?
Yes, bring it into the Spiritist Center. They have, most of the Spiritist centers today have very well prepared persons to deal with that. Actually, the Spiritism, the Florida Spiritism Federation. Okay, it's English, it's not Portuguese, come on. The Spiritism Federation of Florida, it has seminars with the persons which works with the children to prepare them to deal with these children in knowledge and in techniques, how to deal with these kids, especially the ones which are very active and everything. They are prepared to do that. So most of the Spiritist centers, they have classes by ages where the teachings of Spiritism will going to be brought to them and be introduced to them on a different perspective. Another thing which is very important to make clear, I already mentioned that on the talk, but I wanted to make it clear again. When we come to a Spiritist center, the Spiritist centers are not trying to convert anyone. Okay? One of the most amazing Spiritists that I ever met was a Jewish guy. A Jewish guy. Those Jewish, which those signs on their doors when they go through, they have to put in their hands and everything. He used to use the kippah on the days and everything. But he understands the concept of Spiritism on such a deeply way, and most important, he applied this concept for his daily life on such a way that was impressive. So Spiritism, we are not trying to convert people to any kind of religion. We're not trying to convert people over here. What Spiritism does is try to become or make or produce better persons. That's what we're trying to do. Oh, but I'm not sure if my kids, he wants to be a Spiritist in the future. We're not trying to bring him or to convert him to be a Spiritist. We're going to try to introduce him to new concepts where he can be a better person in the future. That's all. If he wants to be another religion, that's not a problem. But the basics of the concepts, the fundamentals, he's going to be taken with him since day one. That's the point. No more? Oh, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Just wanted to do one tiny clarification on one thought that was shared here today about the concept of the attributes of God, which Alex explained very well, that eventually we'll be able to reach an understanding of God. But just to clarify, God is eternal. And here we brought from the Spirits book, Allan Kardec's analysis and explanation on what the Spirits answered, and saying that if God had a beginning, then God would have either had to have sprung from nothing, or would have had to have been created by a being that existed previously. Reasoning in this way, we arrive little by little at the idea of what eternity and infinite truly means, and eventually we will get there. So just wanted to clarify. It's important that we remember this and try to read some of the attributes. The Spirits encourage us in saying that we are able already to have a little bit of an idea of the attributes of God, and we can simply take a look around.